there's a picture of him. He's a very handsome gentleman. I've had the privilege of working with him for the last, 15 or 16 months while we're preparing a lot of his methodologies for release. Mark has been in the market for a very, very long time. He's been doing it for about 30 years now. And he's one of the things that I like. I've got some of the demographics up on the board, but one of the things I really want to talk about for just a minute or two before we let Mark start talking is kind of his reputation with relationship to Timer Digest. For those of you that don't know, Timer Digest is basically a publication. You can find it up on the internet at timerdigest.com. And literally, there are, many experts that'll submit every day what their recommendations are: buy, hold, get rid of. And Timer Digest tracks these expert recommendations on a daily basis and ranks who's the best market timer. So it's a competition really between people that say they know what they're doing with the market, so that they can validify who really knows what they're talking about and who knows exactly kind of who's really good at timing. That's the whole point of the whole publication. And you guys know a lot of the market timers because we work with a couple of them. Price Headley is a top market timer and does a really good job with stocks and options. And I'm sure a lot of you have his product already. Mark's somebody that also ranks in this top market timer digest. In fact, in 2006, he was the best timer that was in this quote-unquote contest. Number 2 market timer of the year for last year, 2010. And for gold timer, if you're interested in timing gold for a 10-year period, that ended in 2009, he was ranked the number 2 market timer. I think that says a lot about kind of what he has to say today. And today, the purpose of the class that he's going to give is going to be talking about kind of his methodologies, the implementation that we've done. This product is exclusive to MetaStock. Mark was gracious enough to allow us to put it on our platform. And we're really, really excited. I mean, I think anytime we can start to talk and work with somebody that's a top market timer and bring you good strategies around what that market timer does, I think we're doing our job. So without any further ado, Mark, let's have you go ahead and click on your microphone.
Yeah, okay. Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me. This is Mark Leibovit, and I'm broadcasting here from Scottsdale, Arizona. Usually it's Sedona, but we're down here in Scottsdale today. Thank you for joining me here at MetaStock. This is a real honor for me, too. Many of you have known my work for many years. I've kept the Leibovit Volume Reversal pretty proprietary. I just published a book, Trader's Book on Volume, where we have little hints of it in there. I have a bigger book coming out in about a year, which gets into more specifics, but mostly covering what we're going to be seeing today on the screen. Most of what I developed came in the early 70s when I was a floor trader on the Chicago Board Options Exchange, and the volume reversal has taken 3 forms for the MetaStock platform. Obviously, there's a lot of ways you can use it. As I mentioned, it is proprietary. We don't give out the formula for it. One of the things that prevented me from releasing this long time ago was the fear that perhaps it would change the accuracy of the indicator, but I'm pretty much convinced that the markets are big enough, and any specific recommendation made any particular security or index is not going to do much to change the market. So here we are, here we are in 2011 releasing something that I've been working with since the 1970s. As Jeff mentioned, we've been doing this since January 2010, putting this all together. So in a nutshell, we came up with 3 systems for MetaStock, and we call them the Leibovit VR Sequential, the VR Directional, and the VR 2-Day, which you see here is described on the screen. We're going to go over, I have about 90 slides here. I can talk awfully fast. We're going to try to spend a little more time on the first couple slides on each section and try to give you a feel for what each of these versions of the Leibovit Volume Reversal really are all about. The premise basically is that volume precedes price. It's simple as that. Though I use other technical indicators, my primary focus is volume. And I've learned a long time ago if there's more buyers than sellers or sellers than buyers, this is your crystal ball to the future. And this is really what you need to know more than fundamental news, and even to a greater extent than other technical indicators, because as you know, if you use moving averages or other leading indicators such as stochastics and so forth, sometimes they lag a little bit. But volume is a response to what's happening that moment in the marketplace, and I think in that sense it becomes a trigger and the really, I feel, the most important ingredient. On the screen we have a visual here of the toolkit. This is basically the system is designed for all these following markets. You'll see this in the manual when you subscribe, but it covers everything from equities all the way down to cocoa, and there are different versions that you click on if you are interested in the thing. I don't have any speakers on, by the way. You say that I'm too loud. There are no speakers here, so I don't know. Maybe I'm just speaking to. Maybe I should move the microphone away from my face a little bit. Does that help? Hello, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's.
I've made some tweaks to the app here, but I don't know if we'll be able to get rid of the static. I've got it turned down. Maybe make sure you're speaking directly into the microphone.
Well, I'm speaking directly into it, so I hear the message static. I hear you clearer coming in, Jeff, but I don't hear static, so.
Yeah, it's maybe move the mic back away from you. A little. I have to.
How about that? Is that a little bit? Is that a little bit better? It says Charles says audio is fine, and
It's better.
that's a little better. 1, 2, 3. Is that better?
Yeah, that's a little.
Yeah. Okay, I raised it well away from my face. Okay. Static's still an issue. Okay. I'm sorry. Jeff, we're going to have to do more rehearsals on the volume in the future.
Yeah. There's just only so much we can do with it. If we've got static, we can talk to Adobe about that. But I'm going to let you.
Okay, here we go. So we got 3 versions of the volume reversal. We only have 45 minutes here, and I want to cover as many examples. And I know all of you are interested in just seeing what we have. There's 3 versions. The first is Leibovit Volume Reversal 2-day. This is basically designed, and this is what I use a lot personally. Is basically designed. We did a study a few years ago that there's about a 70% accuracy that when a volume reversal is generated, that you get a follow-through pattern right away, and within 2 days you have a nice trade. So here's a quick skeleton example of the Leibovit 2-day expert. Negative volume reversal on the top, you see a little red down arrow. A little blue man tells you 2 bars later to take your profit. Very straightforward. It did continue beyond, but that's the nature of the 2-day or 2-bar. Now the negative VR in the middle of the chart, quick trade, 2 bars, 2 days later, positive VR, out 2 days later, another positive VR, out 2 days or 2 bars later. This is just a quick visual. We're going to have some specific examples, but this is sort of a skeleton of what we look at. Okay, here's another example. 2-day, on the subtlety of the 2-day, by the way, is if another volume reversal comes in, you can end up staying with the trade beyond the 2 days. So this is an example where VR comes in 2 days later, you theoretically get out with a profit unless you want to go with the second signal. This is something you should be aware of. And the second indicator we're releasing is the Leibovit Volume Reversal Directional. Now, we haven't defined the sequential yet, but this shows all the successive, the sequential, which shows all the successive volume reversals in the same direction. The directional only shows newly generated volume reversals. You probably should have showed the sequential first. But the only time that the signal changes when there's an opposite volume reversal formed or a defined stop loss level is hit. So as long as the stop has not been hit, you're holding the position longer, obviously, than the 2 days, or it could be weeks in some instances. You're going to see some examples in just a second. And then the directional example here, there's a couple of examples where you're getting a VR and you don't post another trade until another negative or positive VR forms. So this gives you a little skeleton chart about what you might see. This is a little congestion area that we pointed out as an example. Ultimately, it broke out here on the right side of the screen with a positive VR, but you had little trades along the way until which time the bigger move started, but no not every indicator or VR was shown, only the any new ones that develop. So this is a filter. Basically, Directional Expert filters and just provides you with the any changes that occur. And the following example is a sequential, which displays all the volume reversals. And I'm going to flip right to the example here. This just shows every one of them, and we actually count them. So here, a VR comes in, and we count them 2, 3, 4, 5. If it gets to 6 or more, you have to check the expert, because there's a limitation on MetaStock that from 6 or over we can't put a number up on the screen, so the expert commentary will show you the actual number, but the sequential shows every one of them. So let's move on to the 2-day and start going through some examples. I know all of you are technically oriented like myself, and until you look at charts, all the chit-chat doesn't really mean very much. Here's a typical chart, and we have a bunch of them here, and I'll talk as fast as I can. And this is an example of Alcoa Daily. This was during October 2009, displaying the 2-day. Left side of the screen, you get a positive volume reversal. 2 days later, you're out with a trade. Negative ER, out 2 days later. You actually were stopped out of this one here. No trades during this intervening period. Negative ER, trade, you're out. Positive ER, 2 days later, trade, you're out. Positive ER, trade, and a reversal here. Actually, negative ER came in and you're out. Negative ER came in here, and the last one on the right, and you're out. So let's keep flipping through here, and this is the expert commentary for that same example. In other words, it'll point to the actual point on the chart here. The short position should have exited. That little blue man on the right there, that gives you the instructions that you had negative VR, and 2 bars later you're supposed to exit, but that gave you a guide. The question on the screen is, when does a bar get labeled and when do you enter? As soon as the negative VR is formed, if you're live and getting live data, you'll see it intraday as the volume reversal is forming, and you can enter the position if you're doing 60 minutes, if you're doing a daily, either way, 30 minutes, whatever time frame you pick, so long as the volume is coming in, the negative or positive volume reversal will post on the MetaStock program. Moving on, here's cocoa for those who trade commodities. 2-day example here. Negative volume reversal, 2 days you're out. Now you can see the move continue down. This is just a 2-day expert. We're just focusing on 2-day trades. There was no intervening trades during this period into February, March 2009. Another positive VR came in. This was the only one that formed, and we had a quick 2-day trade. Again, that continued beyond the point, but again, this is what this particular expert focuses on. Comex gold, this is a 2-day example here. You can see a negative volume reversals come in, quick trade, 2 days later, negative VR, 2 days you're out, positive VR, 2 days later you're out, negative VR, 2 days you're out, and just follow along the screen. You see a positive VR or negative VR, and 2 days later the position is exited. Next question, are you making any money? Yes. Gold, COMEX, continuous 2-day gold. Here's an example off the commentary, MetaStock commentary. Positive VR has been generated. You can see a little blue bar out, and this is the signals that are generated on the 2-day. And again, remember, you have to act when the VR comes in. There's actually a note in the manual that says you should act on the day of the bar or as the bar is forming. So if it's 60 minutes, 30 minutes, 2-day, if you're doing it on whatever time frame, as soon as the VR comes in, you jump on board, because that's when volume is coming in. Okay. Here's a Google example, daily, August, November 2006, positive VR out, positive VR out 2 days, positive VR. The third one was actually, that was a stop out, that was a loss on the third trade there. Fourth one across, positive VR out, negative VR, that was a trade there, positive. Fifth one, positive VR, nice move before the gap up. Next positive ER, you were even on that trade, and next one you were positive. Keep flipping through the examples. Here's the commentary for the 2-day on Google. That's what you would see on the screen. So when you touch the VR that's been generated, it tells you at that moment to enter your long position. Question is, how does it work on the E-mini? I can't answer all the questions. It works on every market. Obviously, not every trade is going to work, but remember now, you're looking strictly at the volume reversal. This is my tool. It doesn't mean you're not putting any of your other favorite indicators up there. I tend to go with my indicator. I'm very myopic in that sense. I've been doing this for many years, and I follow volume. Sure, you can put a stochastic or a moving average or relative strength, whatever else, whatever you're comfortable with, and that could help improve and fine-tune your trades. That's your subjective call. Every one of these experts allows you to add any other indicators that you prefer. Here's IBM on a 60-minute chart back in 2011. So just intraday, quick 2-bar move. You can see here that you get some follow through after negative VR. Positive VR was sort of even here. On the fourth one, you get a nice little move up. On the fifth one, nice move up. Then a negative VR at the very top. The International Business Machines, this is the same example. This is what the commentary is showing on a particular trade. So you can see when a VR comes in, a little box is telling you it's been generated and a long position is initiated and where your stop should be. That's the same example. Most of these I try to show the chart example and then what the commentary is showing following afterwards. This is Microsoft Daily, 2009. Again, positive VR, exit, positive VR, exit, positive VR, exit. Everyone here was profitable all the way up. Didn't even have one loss in this whole sequence. This is Microsoft again. This shows you the signal's been generated and your instructions. Here's Palladium for those of you who like the Palladium market. This was done on a daily chart. 2 days. Here's the short falling. If you're using the 2-day indicator, it continued beyond your point, but that was a 2-day trade for both of these. The continuous sequential or directional indicator would have given you a little bit more of a play, but this is the 2-day. Palladium, again, this is the example of the commentary that follows on the previous chart. Here's Platinum, continuous on a daily chart. More examples of the 2-day. If you just follow the screen, you can see the signals come in and you exit on the blue bar. It's just no arbitrary decision. 2 days you're out, 2 bars you're out. You don't care where the market's going beyond that using this one tool. And this is the commentary for Platinum for that same example. The signal was generated, it tells you to enter a short position, and tells you where your stop loss is. This is COMEX 60-minute silver chart. Positive, you can follow the examples on the screen versus me naming every one of them. High correlation of success. There's one right in here in the middle toward the left side of the screen. It was a negative, positive came in, so this one you immediately reverse back to the long side, and that probably would have been a loss right there on that trade, but then you made it up right away here and all the others worked out for you. And this is an example of the same one, just showing the commentary relative to that particular chart. Silver Daily, January through March 2010. You got negative VRs. You went with the second signal. See, this is what happened on this example here. I mentioned a moment ago that when another VR comes in, that takes precedence off the exit. So your negative VR 2 days, you would exit. You could have a profit, but stay with it again because another signal came in, and then you got out on this 2-day signal because there was no other signal generated. Negative VR, you're out. Positive VR, you're out. All winners on that sequence. And here's the same example again, showing the commentary for that particular trade. I'm sure we can make some of these examples available to you. Jeff can handle that if you guys. Now we're going to move on to directional. This is the second Leibovit Volume Reversal indicator, and this one shows only when there's a change in VRs, but you stay with the trade. I guess that's the best way to describe it for you. So this way you try to catch broader moves. Here's the weekly in Transocean offshore. You get negative VR, immediately you get long, you reversed. In other words, you reversed your position, that one didn't work out, but then you stayed long all the way until a negative VR came in, and you followed it all the way across here until that positive VR, and you caught this entire move. So this was more of a longer term play, but there were no intervening volume reversals. If there were, they would have been posted. So this is important for those who are playing on a more intermediate time frame. You can use directional on a 60-minute chart. You can use it on any time frame. This is an example of the weekly. Moving on, this is the same chart. This is the commentary for that. Gives you the instructions when to get long and short. Here, positive VR is formed, and you're just in the position. This is, you're on a weekly basis. You're long this stock here for weeks based on this signal. The question I'm just quickly noticing on the screen about stochastics. I absolutely take volume ahead of stochastics. I'm not saying you won't put stochastics or moving averages up on your screen. They're very important. I like to look at them, but volume is my trigger. And I would go with the volume first, and you'll see in many instances volume will lead the other indicators. Here's COMEX on a 60-minute chart, again using directional. You can see terrific plays here. We had a little whipsaw here on the very left of the screen for one day, and basically you caught this positive VR, and you were in this trade for a day and a half, I guess, here 2 days, until you caught the negative VR on the way down. So this great little play here on the 60 minutes gold. This is the instructions for that particular trade. This occurred on December 7, 2010, by the way. Well, you caught this on a 60-minute chart. Question quickly, does it get skewed with volume at the market open and close? I haven't noticed any skewing, and I don't necessarily would take a position at the market close at the end of the day. I would probably follow a signal that occurred during the day, but high velocity trading, first hour, last hour, really make no difference in my work. As where volume comes from, it's the theory that volume precedes price. There are more buyers and sellers, and that's all I'm really doing, keeping this very simple. This is why I've kept this indicator under wraps for so many years. It's such a great indicator. It's simple. It works. And that's really how I make my living trading. Negative volume reversal here on gold daily. Nice play here on the daily chart. Now, obviously, you might want to use some other indicator to have gotten out down here because, it came in a nice little rally afterwards, but you had a nice trade here, negative VR. This one's a great one here where you caught the whole move down, positive VR gets you long until another negative VR at the very end of the trade. I tend to override my system on occasion. You have a nice profit in something, you may want to take it. I mean, I'm looking to make money like anyone else, but if you want to stay totally focused into a system, you follow the signals and you just step back and keep emotion out of it. Here's silver daily, January through April 2010. Again, directional. Only VRs are posted if they're new VRs. No, not everyone is shown. You're going to see everyone shown in the sequential, which is the final group of examples. This is the commentary for that same example, how it comes up on your screen when you click on it. COMEX copper. This is May through August 2010. I don't use options that much. I play mostly equities, just to let you know. I'm a former market maker on the CBOE, and I used to sell premium, and I find that you could be right on the stock but wrong on the option. So I'm not dissuading you from doing options. I'm just telling you I play the equities. Negative ER here is copper daily. Showing an example here. You get into this interesting congestion period here where you get sort of whipsawed back and forth, but you really don't because there's a little trade positive, and then if you stay with it, you were stopped out here. You caught a little positive move for 3 or 4 days, negative VR, you got a little trade for a day or two until it finally broke out and the final VR carried you all the way up. So in some instances we get into the sideways congestion, and your final volume reversal in that congestion is the one that really gives you the kick for the ultimate move up or down. This is just one of those congestion examples. Same chart, just the expert giving you the specific guidelines for the volume reversal as it was formed. Here's EGPT. This is the Egypt Index ETF. Just follow the signals. Positive VR, you're long on a daily basis. Negative VR, you're short for a few days. Positive comes in, you're long for a few days. Then you get one little bad signal in there where you're whipsawed. And then you get a real big break there toward the end where you get negative VR. Must have been some news. In fact, this was the riots in Egypt. It's quite interesting, and this is where I always got the story. I write in my book, in my introduction to my book, just as a sideline, I've never been caught in a market crash in the last 30 years, from 87 forward, and it's all documented, mainly because volume comes in before the crashes or before the big declines. So this saw selling start to come in. Maybe there was news that day tied to Egypt, maybe not, but this got you short or out, depending on what your strategy was. And it's very interesting how the momentum triggers the continuation of the move. Here's the same example, the commentary. Yes, you can use it with 15-minute charts, Octavio. You can use it any, I prefer the 60-minute, but I think you got to give yourself a little bit more time for follow-through, but I generally have been more successful with the 60-minute. This is XLU on the weekly charts. This is your signals. You can see on the screen. In the middle here, you got a beautiful trade here for several weeks, and this is your utilities ETF. And that's your commentary for that same example that you pull up on the screen by clicking on that VR. I love this example. This is one I have in my book. When you talk about calling the crash, these two negative VRs on the directional indicator, you know, this is August, September, before the crash is back here toward the, in October 19th. That was your 500-point decline, but IBM got you short or out weeks ahead of time on a directional signal, and this is one of the reasons on Wall Street Week with Louis Rukeyser a month before the crash in September, I said, watch out for the third week of October. There's something coming, because I had signals like this warning me, telling me there was selling coming in those stocks and the overall market. And here's Apple Computer on a weekly chart. It's Apple Computer on a weekly chart. We're doing a MetaStock seminar here, and you just watch little trades up and down. Look on your bottom left of the screen where it's boxed off. You know, on the weekly chart here, you got nice follow through, 2 or 3 weeks in each direction. A couple bad trades here toward the end of the box. And then you caught a nice move, negative VR for a couple of weeks, and a big move to the upside at the end. Again, only when new signals come in. So if you blindly follow each one, you're going to catch these big ones, which is what we did in '87 and what we did here on this Apple Weekly. Here's your example for Apple. Northern Dynasty on the daily chart. One of my hot gold stocks has been working out really well for us here. Stock's actually trading around 26 now. This is on a daily. This is also your commentary for Northern Dynasty. We have literally hundreds of examples. We only have 90 in this entitled presentation, so obviously we can't only go so far so fast here. And we try to show where the trades are not working. Not every trade works. Here's your Palladium. You got a nice negative VR. Worked great. This on your weekly. You caught a nice move up, but then you were quickly stopped out. We're in a reversed on here. So you took a loss here on the third VR that's posted. But positive VR came in, you caught a nice move up here, sideways move after this one, you really didn't make any money here, and you caught a huge move here at the end of on the final positive volume reversal. This is your Palladium commentary. Rackspace holding for those who trade more high beta stocks. Negative VR came in, you were quickly stopped out, but then you got short again and you caught this entire move down, and then this move up in Rackspace holding. This is on a daily play. This is the commentary for the equities. Cotton. Any of you trade cotton? This is on the daily chart. Nice little plays here. These are 2 or 3, 4 day plays, but this huge play here between July and November 2010. There's a question here, do I have a scanner? At thevrtrader.com, we post all our positive and negative volume reversals every day. If you subscribe to VR Trader, there's a list of dozens and dozens of by sector. Obviously, it doesn't give you the 60-minute charts. It's just giving the daily volume reversals, but we have that on our vrtrader.com website. Here's the Seiko Mines directional to show you more examples. And this US dollar is directional. This is on the daily chart. Just following the VRs until they switch, you just change your position. And now let's move on to our final section. See, Jeff, we're making some good time here. We're on our final group now. This is Sequential. Now, Sequential shows every volume reversal. So this one, you're going to have to do a little bit more hand-holding and use your own other tools. In other words, you can get whipsawed more, but I put this up on my screen because I want to see when every VR comes in, and it counts them. So sometimes you build some broad cases for tops or bottoms. This is an example of the commentary, by the way, when there's 6 or more. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, apparently there's some limitation on MetaStock where you can't post more than 6 number on the screen, so we have to put it on the commentary. So if it's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, the commentary section will show you there were 7 positive VRs. Let's say in this particular example it was IBM. So here we go. Palladium on a weekly chart. We start counting. So there was a negative VR over here on the left side, but then we start getting a positive VR, number 2, number 3, and this just counts how many there were all the way up. I'm not saying you're ignoring any of the signals. I'm just saying this gives you every one. This, unlike directional, which we just looked at, which filters out. So on the directional, you wouldn't have seen this number 2 or number 3 in the middle of your chart. You'd have been just from the first positive VR to the negative VR at the top right. But sequential shows every one, so if you want to factor it into your trading, you'll have that indicator for you on the screen. That's your chart commentary for that particular example. Here's the triple Q, and now it was formerly a quadruple Q, is September 2007-8. Okay, here's an example of how you try to pick big tops and big bottoms in the market, like the IBM I showed you before for 1987. Here you're showing the quadruple Q, and it's counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negative volume reversals all in this October 2007 period, telling you there's a lot of selling up here, and my indicator is warning that something is coming to the downside. And sure enough, if you stayed short during this period, you might have want to fine-tune it, of course, for depending on your risk-reward parameters, but it caught this break, and you got a little long trade here, a little short trade here, a little positive trade, but you basically caught this big move down at the end following the fact that a negative volume reversal came in, and you also had evidence that a big top was had occurred, and you can see here the evidence of that. This is a commentary. I don't use monthly, by the way. You can do it monthly. I use sometimes I put it up as examples. Trading platform that I use. Honestly, you're going to probably be surprised. I just use Scottrade and Schwab to execute my orders. I just get the VRs and buy and sell. I don't use TradeStation or any of the high-powered platforms. I don't need that. I just have the signal and I go. Here's S&P counting for you. This is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are showing a nice uptrend in the S&P, and this is off the 2003 low. Counting every volume reversals. This kept you long the market, kept telling you there was reinforced on the way up. If this was directional, then obviously you wouldn't have seen all the ones in between. Here's the commentary for that example. There's S&P, the Spider, Technology, counting for you. Here's your commentary for that one. Sequential counts every one. This is your Treasury bonds, the August 27 top. It's counting all the negative volume reversals, telling you there was a top in the bonds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It had to start counting again here because there was a positive VR in the middle, but then you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So basically, as you know, the bonds have been in a downtrend, and this just showed you the selling was coming in, and you got the volume reversal confirming the downtrend all the way down. And this is basically what I'm keying into. Where is the flow of money? It is to the downside. Negative volume reversals. There are sellers. That tells me that the trend is down until I see a positive volume reversal. Bank of America weekly. This is obviously, before the big decline in the banking stocks. The huge sequence of negative volume reversals on the weekly chart before your big break. On the Bank of America daily chart, same pattern, negative volume reversals all the way down, counting them as the stock declined. Even though there was intervening positive ER, one or two little bad signals in there, the majority of the evidence was down, showing where all the selling was and counting in the direction that they were moving. That's the commentary example. This is Bank of America Weekly. Same example again. We repeated that. I apologize. We had it up there twice. Here's COMEX Copper Weekly. This is going back to 2008-10 before it started. Actually, it made a big high, if you remember, back in 2007, and it went through the sharp correction, but it kept you short until these positive ERs occurred in December of 2008, beginning 2009. And then kept you long for this entire space, had a little negative ER, so you had actually a trade here for the downside 2-3 weeks, then you were back long again. I don't understand the question why the volume is only in one color. On the sequential chart, I should point out there's one subtlety. If there's a follow-through bar and volume increases, it's color-coded green along with the positive ER. So here, if you're looking at this copper high-grade example, that circle in the center of the chart, there's a positive ER3, and the little bar right next to it is also green. So if there's a follow-through day and volume picks up, we color it in green, and conversely, it's moved toward the right side of the chart. If there's a negative ER and the second day also increases in downside volume. We color in red, so it gives you a little bit more confirmation of the downtrend that is still ahead. It doesn't mean in the middle, like this positive VR, it says number 4. It doesn't mean that was invalid. It just means the day that followed it, volume did not increase. It just, if it had been in green, it would have given you a little bit more extra oomph that perhaps volume, was a little stronger. But we color code that the second day in the sequential expert. The book only touches on volume reversal. We only have a few pages on it in Trader's Book of Volume. The book that I'm writing now, How to Trade Your Way to Profits Using the Volume Reversal Indicator, isn't supposed to come out till either late this year or early next year. But all the examples you're seeing here will be in that book. So you're actually seeing the book right here. We're going to go over every one of these examples in the book. So this is how we would present it. Crude oil continuous, more examples. This is on your sequential, shows every VR. So you can take every trade if you like, or you can wait for the breakout of your channel. But the point here is if you want to see every one, you use the sequential expert. This is your crude oil continuous for that same example. This is your commentary. I'm sure all you know how to use the commentaries. Just click on it. This is the DGL Gold Fund ETF. This is July through December 2009. You can see the counting of the positive VRs all the way up. And here in the middle of the chart, it shows 6 plus. Well, we can't show more than 6, so it just keeps showing 6 plus. But if you hit your commentary, it'll tell you how many there actually were. And again, this is a limitation with MetaStock. So here on the commentary, it says this makes 8 positive VRs instead of the 6 you see on the screen. And this is nothing that I had any control over. This has to do with programming on MetaStock. But it just gave you the actual count here on the commentary. The EWZ Brazil Index. It's amazing, just before that big decline here in May 2010, look at the sequence of negative volume reversals, 6 of them, confirming that something negative was unfolding with that. That's the point of the sequential. And this is your instructions. If you're actually trading, you would go short on the negative VR or any one of those, but you would have been short on this last one for sure, and you catch the down move. Does a VR signal mean you immediately reverse your position and play the opposite direction? Generally, yes. Generally, yes. I generally don't fight the positive. If I get a positive and then I get short the next day on a negative, I'll reverse again if I have to. That's the objective way of playing it. Sometimes you get a bad signal in between, happens on occasion, but then you have a weight of evidence that you build. If you have a sequence like you have on the screen like this, and you know it's really going to be in a downtrend, and you get one little positive, you may ignore it, you may choose to ignore it. But generally speaking, I pay attention to every volume reversal because you want to follow the volume. You don't want to get caught. Here's your IYR Real Estate Index, ETF, another example on the sequential. This is your example with your commentary tied to that particular chart. Microsoft on a daily chart. Every VR was counted. That's your example for your commentary. Here's Northern Dynasty, well, again, my favorite I mentioned to you on the directional section. This is on the sequential, so it shows every volume reversal. Now here to the example you had mentioned before, question here, positive volume reversal 4, then you get negative VR. So what do? I mean, it's obviously an up stock. So if you got out or went short, I guess there was a little trade here for a couple days, but the trend reasserted itself and you got right back long again. So if you got out or went short here, you would have gone back long immediately and caught the next leg up. So to answer the question, do you pay attention to every one? Here it might have paid, maybe it didn't pay. It depends, how heavy you were and whether you were using some other filters or just decided that you're going to go with the weight of the evidence. But as a general rule, if I got something like this, I'd probably take a profit and wait for the next VR just to be safe, because you never know, that could have been a bigger top. This is your instructions tied to that particular example. And here's last year I called, as I've been lucky to have done on many occasions, and I'm not saying I'm the only one who did this, but the flash crash was no surprise. A month before I put out sell signals, and this is one of the reasons. The S&P had generated 3 negative volume reversals on the daily chart. Said something was rotten in Denmark. Of course, that was a time when the Goldman Sachs story came in, and basically, even though I did not anticipate a 1,000-point down day in May 2010, we put out sell signals based on the series of negative volume reversals in the S&P. One, you might say it's an aberration, but when you start getting 2 and 3, it tells you something is coming. So this is the value of the volume. It warns you ahead of time of a trend change. Here's Apple Computer on an hourly chart for those of you who like to trade Apple. On a 60-minute chart, how positive VR can catch some of the swings for you. In this particular instance, every one worked. This is Apple on a daily chart. Remember, every volume reversal is being shown on the sequential. And this brings us sort of up to date, by the way, because as you can see, Apple's been underperforming here in the last few weeks, a couple weeks anyway, and you're seeing this whole series of negative volume reversals here. So some distribution occurring in Apple Computer here. So this is not a stock that I'm really that crazy about unless I start to see some positive volume reversals come in. It's had a huge move. And Jeff, I think that pretty much winds up the examples. I was able to go through 80 or 90 examples. I know it was fast, but we covered them.
Reversal studies are available on a subscription to MetaStock. The subscription will be $99 a month or $990 per year. I don't want you to subscribe to them. What I want you to do is I want you to be able to have access to them. I'm going to give you a free trial to the actual subscription. I have a strong feeling that if you do try it, you're going to like it and it's going to be something that's helpful for you. Trading tools are only helpful in as much as they can help you in the market, and I think this is something that's going to be proved very useful and very valuable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, if you want to try this, go ahead and try it. You can call one of our sales agents right now. They'll help you set up for a free trial of the actual application, completely risk-free. You won't pay a dime for it. If it's something that you think is going to be worthwhile for you, if you think it'll help you make more profitable trades, if you think then it's going to obviously pay for itself. This is what we're going to do to kind of let you go ahead and try that software out. To take advantage of the trial, you're going to need to mention the Leibovit webinar, and you just call 1-800-252-9901. Somebody will help you go ahead and get this added to your MetaStock account. For those of you, and I know there was quite a few of you when I asked the polling question before we started, if you don't have MetaStock, and you're just looking at maybe doing a MetaStock purchase, make sure you tell your sales rep as well. You're going to need the MetaStock, and we'll give that to you on a free trial as well. So you can go ahead and try this. You can try MetaStock. We'll give you a 30-day trial. If it helps you make better trades, go ahead and keep it. If it doesn't, go ahead and cancel. No harm, no foul. To do that, again, call 1-800-252-9901. It does, for those of you that might be wondering, feature full integration into MetaStock. So in other words, if you want to be able to scan a market, you'll have explorations that will allow you to go through, find all the optionable stocks that might have a pattern for that day, go through the futures and find a pattern buy or a pattern sell for that day. Has an expert advisor. The expert advisor will alert you to the changes, draw the buy and sell arrows that we were looking at today on the chart. It'll give you a stop loss every time you get a trade. So every time you get in a trade, you'll have a protection. I wouldn't recommend that you go ahead and start trading with it right away. Again, you want to have some confidence with it, but you'll be able to go ahead and follow it on paper and see exactly if you like this system as much as we do it here at MetaStock or not. So go ahead and take advantage of the free trial. It's again, the phone number is 1-800-252-9901. Barry asks, does it work with e-signal data? Absolutely. It'll work with any, as long as you're getting data into MetaStock and it has volume associated with that data. Obviously, it's a volume reversal pattern, so you have to have volume. It's going to work fine for you. Grant says, will it work on international stocks? You bet. Does a MetaStock user get to understand the indicator or simply generate it on charts as from a black box? Well, we do have some documentation on the indicator as well. I don't think we have a lot. I do think it's a proprietary indicator. I think Mark's going to talk a lot of it on the book he's writing about how it's used and how useful or how it's used. I don't think we disclose, and Mark can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we actually disclose the calculation, and I don't think we plan on doing that. If you're, that's a good question, Grant. If you want to sign up for the if you're an international customer and you want to sign up for the trial, you want to call 801, country code 1-801-265-9700. 9996. And that'll get you over to our sales team, and just mention that you just saw the webinar right now and you want to do the free trial, and they'll set you up without any charge. It will work on Canadian stocks. If you have the data in MetaStock already, you'll be able to apply it to that data. We do not have a back testing with this particular methodology. Octavia, it definitely won't work with DTNIQ as a data feed on real time, but it would probably, after you convert your data, work on end of day. What I'd recommend that you do, you'll probably like Reuters better. I do. I might be a little biased. I do work for the company, but it's a great news service. It's a great price. It's great fundamental data. I mean, it's Reuters. How can you get better than that? Go ahead and do the trial. If you don't have MetaStock already, they'll give you a free month of data to play with it, and then you can actually evaluate our data feed with it. And you can also evaluate maybe pulling in your data from DTNIQ. You can use dial data as a data feed for MetaStock. TradeStation, you can, but you have to do conversion of your data. Can it be plotted either as an indicator? The indicator is included, Jim, with the platform. And of course, you saw the expert. The expert is attached as well. Travis asks, how does it work with Scottrade? Travis, what it would do is you'd use MetaStock to go ahead and get your signals, and then you'd put your trades into Scottrade. That's what I do myself. It does not work with the Thinkorswim platform, but you can use that to trade, and it's a great platform for options. Lots of questions. Okay, well, that being said, I don't see a lot new questions coming in. So I would like to personally thank you guys for coming in today, spending an hour with us tonight. I hope you guys enjoy your dinner and your evening TV shows. Let me know if you guys have any questions. You're more than welcome to email me. It does work with end-of-day data. In fact, almost all of the examples we showed today were on an end-of-day basis. If you guys have questions for me, I'm sure I can round up the answers for you.